then the engine is usually the best thing on the truck, and everything else falls apart around it. We rarely have engine problems. It's the transmission that we have problems. It's coil springs, suspension, leaks. It's those types of things. Rarely is it ever the engine. Physical engine itself. It's pretty hard. But thank you for working on getting on the pass for us. No problem. We certainly appreciate it.
I know. Someone's got to be the bad guy. It's right here.
Trust me, I tried to drive it.
Yeah.
I actually wear that.
Went to NCCU, he's a lawyer from Greensboro.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I called him and told him. So I met one of the founders.
This is the agenda for the meeting.
All right, all right. Okay.
Hello. I thought you never asked. I thought you would never ask.
I said, yeah. He know much video, right? Oh. Oh, sorry.
You can get a few minutes. So what do we have?
The picture.
So this is Cusco. This is all Cusco. So we were there for Peruvian Independence Day.
Yes.
July 29th. Yeah, and I had no idea.
28, 29.
Yeah, we walked out of our hotel. There was a military parade.
Parade.
I mean, it was huge. It was unbelievable.
You went with your family?
Yeah, my family. Yeah.
How about the food?
Food is just delicious.
The spicy? Do you eat ceviche?
Yeah, and I like Peruvian food.
My
Like chaufa.
Oh.
I took one of this.
Susie,
I speak
you have the sign-in sheet?
We can read it. I can teach you. I can teach you.
Okay,
Channel 10 is outside, you know that.
Oh, they are?
Yeah,
Really?
they're coming in a few minutes.
Well, here, meet on.
So we did.
one thing I can't pronounce these last names.
You have it in writing?
His. Okay. Yeah, this is Meg. We'll just call her Meg, but I don't. I always call her Meg. I've never called her.
It's a German name, so don't pronounce it in German. Story.
We're just gonna go with Meg. But the first name is like,
Marguerite,
yeah.
my daughter's name.
Oh, okay. Susie, are you ready for me or not yet? Oh, okay. Oh, okay, there's no audio. You're good?
Testing.
Workshop Commission meeting, 7:00 PM, Wednesday, September 25th, 2024. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. This last week, we lost Meg Strobel. She was a dedicated employee to the town for 34 years as the executive assistant. Thank you. Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Jacobs,
Here.
Acting Clerk Commissioner Kashem,
Yes.
Clerk Commissioner Hodgkins,
Here.
Vice Mayor Morset,
Here.
Mayor Mohammed.
Here. Okay. Are there any deletions or withdrawals to the agenda? Are there any deletions or withdrawals to the agenda? No? All right. I am going to do public comments right quick. So we have one member in the audience, David, who would like to come up to speak.
This is a workshop.
Just fine. I'm
Hi, my name is David regarding a real estate broker serving Pembroke Park since 2003. Recently, I've encountered excessive hostility from the building department. Okay. All right. The arbitrary triple fees based on personal agendas or whims in hindering local businesses. A notable example is the demolition of Unit 4450 structure, existing over 10 years. Unlike neighboring municipalities, Pembroke Park demands blueprint for demolition, rejecting contractor drawing, fees skyrocket. The fees for commercial building fee originally was supposed to be $75. It went up to $1,142. Inspection for the inspection, $480, triple fees. Commercial building permits, 2 multiply 75. Commercial plan review, $225 plus another 75. The disparity is striking. One tenant received 5 inspections without any penalties or extra fees, while others face double or triple fees. I urge the town of Pembroke Park to treat residents fairly and equally.
okay.
Sir, is this the building department or code enforcement?
Excuse me?
Is this directed at code enforcement or building?
Yeah,
department?
well, it's Jeffrey Lewis is the guy, I guess, in charge. He's a nice guy, and he's been there for 25 years. but when you don't make any waves or anything, you can stay, I guess, for 25 years. The just bills are excessive. I mean, why triple times inspection for fire? When a fire department just came to one of the units over there 5 times and never charged extra fees. Okay. So, I mean, you have to be fair with everybody.
The building number was 4450. What's the address?
4450 Hallandale Beach Boulevard.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So, Mr. Williamson, will you meet with Mr. David and get to the bottom of that? Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anyone else from the public that wishes to speak on anything? Okay. All right, so with that, if there are no more public comments, I'm going to close the public comment section. And I'm going to pass this back down to Susie so she can put it in the record. Okay. New business, 5.1, moratorium on self-storage facilities. We've had this discussion.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Commission. You may recall at your last commission meeting, the mayor had placed an item on the agenda, raised the issue of imposing a moratorium on self-storage units in the town. In beginning the process of implementing that direction, your planning consultant and I were going through the code, noticed that Pembroke Park does not currently have a process or an ordinance set out in your code that addresses a moratorium, or what's also known as zoning in progress. In an effort to sort of lay the infrastructure for the creation of a zoning in progress process, we worked with the planning consultants to prepare an ordinance which would establish a process for the imposition of a moratorium. Then I looked.
Ask several.
Yeah, well, I will go back and look again, Mayor, before the regular meeting,
Okay.
but there did not appear to be anything codified currently in the code.
Okay.
So to the extent that there is a process in the town, obviously we'd follow an existing process. In the absence of a process, we have created one. What the process, or at least the recommendation is, would be to create both an administrative and a legislative process to implement a zoning in progress. What it does is it would give both your town administrator, the town manager, and the commission an opportunity, if there is a particular use or proposed development in the town, it gives the town the ability to place a temporary hold on development permits and approvals if there's a pending or active effort underway to study the code, amend the code that would otherwise preclude such permits or approvals from being moving forward in the town. The process that we've created, and we didn't really look to reinvent the wheel. We've created a number of these procedures over the years and sort of pulled from some models in surrounding communities, trying to find a it's essentially a two-step process. First, it gives either the commission or the town manager the ability to initiate a zoning in progress process. And if it comes from the town manager, the manager would issue an administrative order that would put a stop on any development permits or approvals, or the acceptance of any applications for development permits or approvals. And it would provide direction to the town professional staff to review potential amendments to the code that would address those specific uses. Those amendments would then obviously come to the Planning and Zoning Board or to the Commission. Once the administrative order is in place, it would prohibit the issuance of any development permits, the granting of any approvals. It would revoke any issued development permits or approvals that would be precluded by any proposed amendments to the code. We know that when we're seeking to limit or restrict development, there's certain limitations under Florida law as far as what a collegial body, what a public agency can and cannot do. We know commercial property owners have rights, and one of the things this ordinance does, in addition to providing an opportunity for the town, it also ensures that your property owners' rights within the town are also protected. The Once the administrative order is issued by the manager, it would then stop that process. The town commission would then have an opportunity by resolution to review the administrative order at the next meeting, decide whether or not it wanted to confirm the decision of your town manager by resolution to affirm the administrative order and prohibit the resolution would then set a time frame, presumably where your professional staff can report back to the commission with proposed amendments to the code to address any land use and zoning issues that specifically pertain to the zoning in progress. The time frame that we've laid out would not exceed 6 months. We've established some criteria in the code that would give the commission a framework to determine whether or not a moratorium or zoning in progress process was legally appropriate in any particular set of circumstances. The ordinance that we've offered really is a general process. Once the ordinance came back for approval on second reading, in conjunction with that, we would work with your manager to impose or initiate an administrative order imposing the moratorium or the zoning in progress on self-storage units. So what I would suggest, Mayor, we'll go back after this meeting, look again in the code. To the extent that there is a process already in place, we'll work with the manager between now and your commission meeting on the 8th to implement that process. In the absence of a process, we would place an ordinance on the agenda for consideration. Once the process was established at second reading, we would have the manager, work with the manager to issue an administrative order halting development of any self-storage units in the town, keeping in mind that it's a limited halt. Again, the town can't prohibit uses and development in the town. There's certain limitations with regards to takings. There's a law in Florida that's called the Burt J. Harris Act that speaks to when a collegial body, a governmental agency, takes some action that adversely affects property owners' rights. Property owners, of course, have recourse in those instances. So we would want to make sure that any procedures that restricted or limited development complied with all those processes under Florida law. That's the ordinance and the framework before you. Again, it's a recommendation. To the extent that there's a process between now and your commission meeting, we'll go back and take another look, and if there is, we'll bring that back at the meeting on the 8th to actually implement the zoning in progress. If there's not, then we'll come back with a process for you to consider. So, thank you, Mayor.
I'm surprised that our existing zoning that we have now doesn't already cover that.
Yeah,
Kind of like beating a dead horse.
No, we worked with their planning consultants. And neither of us were able to identify that process.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm looking through it right now. We've been issuing moratoriums since February 12, 2014 that I know in my email, just from doing a simple email search. So there's a process where the paperwork is on how it's done. That's a whole nother question. But I can pull up some. We did it on medical marijuana. We've done it on different things.
Medical marijuana is a little different because this state law, the statute allows local government to prohibit or restrict marijuana dispensaries. So there's a specific provision in state law that addresses that particular use.
Yeah.
But most uses are not contemplated quite the same way that medical marijuana is under Florida law.
Okay. Yeah. We did it for scrap metal businesses in 2014.
Yeah. I'll think.
It's there. We've been utilizing this.
If you could forward me what you have, Mayor, I'd like to.
It's an agenda.
Yeah.
From 2014.
Do you have a date?
February 12, 2014 was the moratorium on it says relating to Chapter 15 licenses and business regulations restricting the issuance of business tax receipts for recycling and scrap metal businesses for an additional 6 months. So there must be more somewhere.
Yeah, and generally the case law supports a 6-month limitation, and thereafter you can come back and extend it if necessary. But there are some limitations as far as duration. But again, we'll take another look. To the extent that there is not a process, we would recommend having a process.
Yeah.
Once a process was codified, obviously we'll follow it.
Okay.
So, thank you, Mayor.
So, are there any questions? No? Okay. 5.2, maintenance memorandum of.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Commission. This is an agreement with Florida Department of Transportation. It was an agreement that was entered into some time ago, and it was for the town to maintain Holiday Boulevard, the landscaping, lighting, irrigation installations. This was an agreement that was set into progress many years ago, and now the Florida Department of Transportation just wants to close out the agreement that's already in place. We're already doing the maintenance on this agreement set forth between the two entities, us and Florida Department of Transportation, but the actual agreement on their end was not closed out. So this is just a closed out process that they are initiating on their part.
Okay. If there are no questions on that, that can go on consent. 6.1, commercial amnesty program.
Yeah, I can speak briefly to this. And this item was on our last commission meeting agenda, Mayor. I know you weren't here for this portion of the meeting. You may recall back in, I believe it was May, the commission by resolution extended its residential amnesty program through, I believe it was February of 2026. At that meeting, you may recall that the commission had provided direction to your code team and to our office to essentially adopt a similar amnesty program for commercial properties in the city. All this does is it takes your residential program and expands it to commercial code issues as well, provides for the same time frame. This amnesty program would also terminate concurrent with the residential one, February 1st of 2026. It's no different than your current system, except it does expand it to the commercial properties.
Yeah, the residential one was a great success as far as I'm concerned, and I think if we can pass that on, from what I've seen in some of the commercial buildings, that it definitely could use a little helping hand. So I think it's a good move for the town to go in that direction.
Are there any other comments?
Yep, the residential one, the funding came from ARPA funds. Where's the funding coming from for this one?
The same fund.
In the same place, there's still additional ARPA funds that's available to be utilized.
Town manager, are there ARPA funds left?
We do have ARPA funds remaining in our account. They were designated for other projects at this time. So it depends on what cost analysis that you're setting for this amnesty program that we can go back and research and see what available funds are in other areas. But your ARPA funds was set for a couple other projects that you have. Now, if you're giving us direction to research and go back and come with a recommendation from the ARPA funds, a set cost for the participation in this program, we could do that for the commission meeting. But we would have to get some direction on what type of cost to set for these participants in this program first before we can make a recommendation of where we can pull the money from.
When's the expiration date for the ARPA funds?
We have to utilize before December 2025.
December 2025?
Correct.
And this goes through January 31st of 2026?
Correct.
Some of those set-aside funds, does that include the bathrooms in the building?
For the town?
Yes.
Outside of the AC, I believe there is some set aside for that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, because we have to get those
Yes.
so that they're
ADA, correct.
ADA correct.
Right. But again, we would have to decide what funds are available and per each participant, what would be allowed, what would be amendable to be providing to them. But that would be a discussion that we could go back with finance and research and have some suggestions for you at the next meeting.
Yeah.
With all that, could you make this a line item then?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Item 7.1, Citizenship Drive. The tentative date is going to be October 19th, and it will be here in the Commission Chambers, and it will be done in conjunction with St. Thomas University School of Law, and also with the Trinidad. We've sent out an invitation with the Trinidad Chamber of Commerce. Not Chamber of Commerce, Trinidad Consulate General. We're also going to be extending an invite to the Jamaican Consulate General for those that need to have birth certificates and things like that from the consulate, so that we could do a one-stop shop for our Citizenship Drive, for our annual Citizenship Drive. So this year we will be utilizing the Commission Chamber instead of the school, which charged us $1,500 to use their cafeteria for 4.5 hours. So yeah. So that will be here on October 19th. The only thing that they do have a requirement as of the printers, ink, and lunch. They would like to know if we would be providing lunch for their volunteers. So that is a budgeted item, but I just wanted to make sure that it was clear on the record for everyone who would like to come out to participate, that that's the next event the town will be hosting. Are there any questions? Okay. Item 7.2, Code Enforcement Management Software. So I received an email from a company called
Okay.
Comcade regarding code enforcement management software, which basically would provide transparency in the code enforcement process, so that anytime somebody has a code enforcement violation, it would be public record for them to be able to find it, so that we won't be having as many issues as we're having where people aren't aware of their code enforcement violations. Currently, the city of Lehigh, as well as the city of Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, and Dayland use another company called Excella, which is a great program. And I think that we need to have something along the lines of a code enforcement management software where if you have a ticket, it's public record and it's searchable, so that therefore everyone's notified. So I would like to give direction for staff to research a program and bring it back before us over the next month, so that we could kind of eliminate some of the complaints that we've been getting where people aren't having notifications.
Right. Mayor Commission, we looked into Comcade, staff at the building department, and they discerned that this is not a good fit for an all-conclusive services for the building department. However, we are researching we have two or three other options for the building department for the new fiscal year that we're researching. That's all-inclusive for building, for code.
Excel is one.
And so they're going to come back with a recommendation of what particular software to purchase for the new fiscal year. However, Comcade, we did do a deep dive into it, and it only provides tracking for cases just for code enforcement, code compliance. It does nothing else for building, planning, and zoning. So it wasn't a good fit for our organization. But we have been ongoing throughout the summer researching the right software for building, and we're going to come up with a recommendation in the new fiscal year, and it was calculated into our new fiscal budget.
Okay.
I have discussion.
Yes.
I don't understand how someone in Pembroke Park doesn't receive notice of a violation, seeing how when you get a violation, they're taped onto your building multiple times. Certified mail comes multiple times. There's no way you cannot know you have a violation in the town of Pembroke Park. Notice is posted, notice is given. It happens at a ridiculous amount of times.
Well, we just had a meeting with the business owner in the city who had a violation, who's sitting in the audience right now, who the letters were returned back to City Hall because they had a demo permit on their property. And so no mail was being delivered there. So all of the certified letters were actually sitting here in a folder for the past year and a half, 2 years.
So that sounds like a failure on behalf of the town, knowing that there was a demo permit on the building, sending mail out to a building that was being demolished.
So, I mean, stuff happens is what I'm going to say, which is why I think we need to find other ways to make sure that the information is readily available to people so that they know. Because like the business owner that is here, he's in and out of the building all the time. He's very well known through the building, but to not have that notification, and that's some of the problems that I've seen in the past. For me, I know like Lehigh uses Excella. When I had a ticket on my property for not cutting the grass, I actually received 5 notifications from landscape architects asking me to send them $75 to $300 to clear my violation before I actually even received my violation. So I got my violation 3 weeks after 5 people contacted me. So I think that having some software that puts that information out there so that contractors can also contact people regarding the violations to help kind of resolve it would help kind of alleviate some of the problems that we're having.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of building a bridge just so two cars can go across, but you can look into it. I guess it wouldn't hurt to look into it.
Excuse me, Mark, didn't you look into some software once for the building department? I mean, it's been so long, so I have to pick your memory.
Mark Bakula, IT Director, Town of Pembroke Park. Yes, we spent time over the last 8 months looking at a lot of different software. We put it on hold because we're in the process of bringing on a new manager for that department. I defaulted to Jeffrey and his staff that really did a lot of the discovery on it. So we're going to look back and see what's going on. Some of the software may not be good, but we definitely can incorporate that and look into it. But that's where it is right now. It's just been put on hold. But, you know, we can also make sure that, you know, that what we're bringing on maybe has that feature also there, you know. So definitely we can put that on the list of what we need.
Right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any further discussion?
No, I'm good.
Okay. 7.3 Code of Ordinances. The reason I put this on here was just because I would like for our staff to kind of start looking at our ordinances and updating them to bring them online with the other cities and municipalities in the neighborhood and kind of get rid of some of the antiquated old stuff that doesn't make any sense. So,
Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
that's
Is there any price points on these softwares or?
oh, back on 7.2
yeah.
Excel. Wait, we had finished Excel. Well, we had finished 7.
Yeah, we're 7.2.
No, we finished it. Sorry. They were going to come back with some prices. We'll
Okay.
Look over some stuff. Okay, so we're on 7.3 now. Sorry, go ahead.
Mayor, yeah, thank you, Mayor. This is something that our office is, kind of reviewing on a rolling basis, and the zoning in progress moratorium item is a perfect example. In looking at the code, given the commission's direction, the lack of a zoning in progress process was the first thing that stood out. So we're offering an amendment to sort of, establish that process. If there are any particular provisions in the code that you'd like prioritized, I don't have a problem looking, section by section, chapter by chapter, keeping in mind it is a very significant undertaking. The other part is the majority of your code, a good majority of your code, is policy-driven. For instance, the land development provisions of the code, setback requirements, distance requirements, a lot of those things are policy-driven, things that the town may want to bring in a consultant or engage your planning consultant to assist with. If you have priorities, Mayor and Commission, we're happy to look, at those or focus on those. But I think it's probably needed. Just having looked at your code over the past year, there is quite a bit that's antiquated, quite a bit that doesn't align with the town's operational practices. I think your code really is in need of some updating. With your permission, again, we're happy to start looking at that process, understanding that it is going to take some time, and it's sort of a methodical assignment that we'll need to look at step by step in conjunction with your professional staff.
Sorry, 7.4, agenda rules. So I've attached the agenda rules because there seems to be things that are occurring that when you're having these meetings, there needs to be some kind of background direction or guidance so that everyone knows, so that we're being transparent. And if you look at section 12 of the backup town commission meeting agenda, I know you guys don't. No, you have to look on your computer thingy, Bobby. It would be page 94 if you scroll. Susie, can you put up page 94? Thank you. On page 7 of 9 of the town ordinance 2023-05.
Would you like me to read it, Mayor? Would you like me to read it?
Sure.
Your subsection A, B, do you have a preference? Anything you're focused on?
Both A and B.
And Mayor and Commission, you may recall, this is an item that the Commission adopted, I believe it was last year, just to establish a more codified and defined process for the preparation of Commission meeting agendas and procedures. What the provision the mayor is referring to says is that the town manager or his or her designee shall be responsible for preparing the agenda for all town commission meetings. Town staff may request a matter of business be placed on the agenda, provided sufficient notice is provided to the town commission and the manager. Unless otherwise provided, items previously brought before the town commission for consideration or an expression of interest on 3 occasions may not be brought forward for reconsideration or expression again before 6 months have lapsed, unless a supermajority of 4/5 of the commission agrees to reconsider the item. All proposed agenda items must be delivered to the clerk a minimum of 6 days prior to a commission meeting.
Susie, back up. Yeah, right there.
Members of the town commission may submit items for placement on the agenda. All proposed items must be delivered to the clerk at least 6 days before the meeting. These items are included as part of the agenda and part of the meeting package. No member of the town commission may present more than 4 items at any one meeting. Commission members adding items must include both the agenda cover sheet, fiscal impact, and all sufficient backup to ensure that the public has a reasonable understanding of the item's intent. Limitations, again, do not relate to proclamations or keys to the town. It's the responsibility of the town clerk to compile and deliver the agenda and all supporting documentation under the general supervision and direction of the manager. All members of the town and organization are encouraged to cooperate with the clerk in preparing the agenda, making sure it's complete and accurate. Pursuant to Chapter 286, that's the Sunshine Law, as may be amended, additional items may only be added to the agenda under exigent circumstances to protect the life, health, safety, and welfare of citizens resident of the town. And the town manager may request additional time to study an item not included on the agenda, but presented for action at the meeting. The only other supplement to that I would offer, Mayor, is the Broward County Code of, the Broward County Charter. Section 1.07 has what we refer to as the 48-hour rule. Under the Broward County Charter, all commission agendas, in fact, all meetings of any public meeting subject to the Sunshine Law. That would include your Planning and Zoning Board meeting, any selection evaluation committees. Any meeting is required to have your agenda and all backup material posted on the town's website at least 48 hours before the meeting. Now, your code requires all of the items submitted at least 6 days prior to the meeting. The county charter provides a 48-hour minimum, but again, your code requires more time for that. There is a mechanism under the county charter to amend an agenda within 48 hours. If an additional item needed to be added by the manager for some reason, the county charter does allow for that. If an agenda is amended within 48 hours of a meeting, prior to the meeting, the updates need to be put on the town's website as soon as practicable, and any of the supplemental documentation needs to be printed out in hard copy and made available for everybody attending your commission meetings. That's a requirement under the Broward County Charter that applies to every municipality in the county.
So, yeah, it would be nice if we incorporated that as well. But I mean, that is the rule that we've been following.
We have been, and at least during my tenure, we've been working with the clerk to ensure that process is followed.
So, yeah, so there are items that have been placed on the agenda where you have no idea what direction anything is going in, what's to be discussed, and it's not providing transparency not only to the commissioners on this dais, but also to the public. And I think it's imperative that for transparency purposes, we need to start sticking to that rule again because it's not being followed. And you can't have an educated conversation if you don't know what you're up here to discuss. And it's not for us to come here to have people read to us something that we have no idea what's going on and we can't actually participate in the conversation or discussion because we're sitting here getting first impression of it in the middle of a commission meeting. So I think that it's something that we need to enforce more and make sure that everyone's following it because like the next item, I have no idea what it is.
And
I don't
we need to amend our ordinance to match Broward County's?
No. Well, there's no conflict between your ordinance and the county ordinance. In other words, the county provides a minimum of 48 hours notice. This commission, through its ordinance, has essentially required everything be provided 6 days to the clerk prior to. The clerk can post the agenda on its website really at any time after receiving a complete package, but no later than 48 hours prior to the meeting to ensure compliance with the county charter. So they're not in conflict. This ordinance does not need to be amended to address that issue unless the commission wanted to expand. But I think to the mayor's point, just if I may, and I'll kind of offer this on a personal note, I think it would be very helpful to your staff, candidly, it would be helpful to my office and to the public if there was a little more definition in some of the items that were placed on the agenda. It's not uncommon for agenda language to include motions from commissioners. In other words, a motion with specific direction. That could be on the agenda or in the agenda cover form, the backup form, just to provide some understanding of a commissioner's or your staff member's intent when it comes to the item. Again, I would just offer from a legal perspective, the more information you could provide as backup would always be helpful. And that's not only to the commission, that would go to the manager and to staff as well, and to my office.
Okay. All right, that's all I have on 7.4, because I did send an email to the attorney to ask if we can put more clarification in it or something because of the fact that there are times where we really have no idea what's about to be discussed on some of these items that are being placed on the agenda.
And if any member of the commission or any member of your staff has any questions or would like assistance, we're certainly always available to help frame agenda items.
Okay, thank you. Item 7.5, ongoing blackmail and misconduct. Commissioner Jacobs.
I'm actually still waiting on some backup items for this agenda item. I'm going to table this till a later time when I have all the backup to proceed.
I'm going to, again, resubmit my letter from my attorney to the town regarding the titling of agenda items and the fact that statements that are being put on the agenda are malicious and slanderous in nature, and they have no business being, and they're basically a waste of time for our residents to be sitting here to deal with things that have no impact on the residents in the city. I think that one of the things that we need to kind of narrow in on is the fact that items on the agenda are for items to be voted on, to be a policy decision of the commission and not to be personal attacks on people. So I think that we need to also figure out a way of making sure that the code of ordinances that was passed, 2020-09, and things like that are also followed when it comes to the placement of agenda items and titling of documents. 7.6, discussion and possible action regarding a finding of entitlement and the payment of Commissioner Jacobs' attorney's fees related to the dismissal of criminal charges.
Mayor, thank you. If I may, just briefly, on September 9th, my office, along with the manager, received a correspondence from Commissioner Jacobs' legal counsel in his recently dismissed criminal matter, seeking payment of attorney's fees. The Commission may recall back in February, our office published a legal memorandum that spoke to the general entitlement for attorney's fees. Under Florida law, a town, a municipality, is only obligated to pay attorney's fees if the underlying conduct that resulted in the charges arose out of the performance of the official's duties and the official conduct was serving a public purpose. There's a whole line of case law going back many, many years that speak to the entitlement and to that issue. It's the town commission which determines under the common law and under the case law whether a public official's conduct arose out of the performance of his or her official duties as it was in furtherance of a public purpose. I don't get to make that decision. That's a decision that the commission would need to make. As you all are aware, there were criminal charges filed against a member of the commission. Those charges were dismissed by the State Attorney's Office in Broward County. During the course of that process, one of your colleagues was forced to retain legal counsel, which he did, went through the process of representing Commissioner Jacobs throughout that matter. I know that there was some discovery, a number of depositions were taken. There was some work that was handled by Commissioner Jacobs' counsel. The matter has since been dismissed by the state, and the item in the backup is Commissioner Jacobs' request for payment of attorney's fees. Again, it would be a finding of entitlement by the commission. If the commission finds that the charges resulted from the course and scope of the commissioner's official duties and responsibilities, there would be an entitlement to fees. The next question would be the reasonableness of the fees, but that's the item before the commission this evening.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'm not sure how how they expect us as the commissioners here to judge someone else's behavior, and that's not our job, is to discuss somebody's behavior and what kind of malice intent they had or whatever it is. It's not our purview. We shouldn't be put in that position where we have to determine something like that. As far as somebody doing something what I would call out of line and then having to be got some sort of punishment for it or embarrassment for it. I mean, it just doesn't see that the town is responsible for that in any way. So I'm not for paying any kind of legal fees unless they're in the line of duty here.
Is there any further discussion?
It's hard for a layman to understand the complex that we see here.
Your mic, Vice Mayor.
Okay.
No, he's on.
Now it is. I find it a little complicated for a layman like myself to understand the legal terms here. Usually, if it be ordered by court, who pays what legal fees? When there's
so a court might determine in a civil matter generally whether one of the parties is entitled to legal fees. And under Florida law, there really are only two ways that a private party is entitled to fees. One, if it's provided for in the statute, or two, if it's provided for by contract. And a contract would obviously not apply in this situation, but the statute does apply. And there's provisions in Chapter 111 that speak to entitlement for public officials. And the case law is very clear that the statute is intended to avoid what's referred to as a chilling effect that a denial of representation might have on public officials in performing their duties properly and diligently. That's actually language from the Florida, one of the appellate courts going back to 1981. There's a long history of local government paying for attorney's fees for its public officials who have had both civil and criminal charges filed against them, assuming they met certain criteria under the law. That criteria specifically being whether the conduct that resulted in the charges arose out of the performance of the official's duties, and whether during the course of that conduct, the official was serving a public purpose. If the commission finds that those two elements have been satisfied, then the commissioner will be entitled to the payment of his fees by the town. If not, then a separate finding would be made, keeping in mind that I would expect that if the commission were to find that there was no entitlement in this situation, it may result in another legal action that we would have to defend the town.
Yeah, I don't see any legal entitlement of somebody going out in the parking lot and doing whatever. I don't see how that's official business in any way and manner. So, I'm totally against it.
And again, just keep in mind, there's no action before the commission this evening. This really is just a workshop. My intent is just to lay out the legal predicate that would entitle any one of you and any member of your professional staff, keeping in mind that this is not only for elected officials. This would apply to your professional staff as well in the event that there was a criminal charge or a civil charge. If one of your staff members is named in a civil lawsuit, which does that the same criteria and same elements would apply, the town would provide legal defense, and if the person was ultimately exonerated or found not to be liable, they would equally be entitled to have their fees repaid. So this is not about any particular individual. This would apply to any elected official or any member of your professional staff.
Sir, I still think they were asking us to make a judgment on what was considered business or not.
Commissioner,
I don't think we should be in that position to have to make that judgment.
I understand. My intent is just to let you all know what the law requires, and that is the standard. Whether or not the conduct that resulted in the charges arose out of the official's official duties, and whether the conduct was part of the official serving a public purpose. If you find that those two elements were satisfied, there would be an entitlement. If you find that those two elements were not satisfied, there would be no entitlement.
Well, I'm assuming there was an investigation done. We don't have any kind of results from any kind of investigation, so how are we going to determine that?
Well, I understand. It's a fair question.
Because I'm the victim in this situation, I am abstaining from all discussion because of the fact that this affected me personally, where
What I may offer, again, because this is a workshop, you have an action meeting coming up in 2 weeks. I'm happy to try to get any additional information that we can from the state attorney's office. I don't know what information is available, but again, to the extent that there is more information, I'm happy to try to locate it. And if anyone would like to, speak individually, I'm happy to have individual conversations with the commission if that would be helpful. But again, this is a commission that under the law really requires the commission to decide whether or not an entitlement exists.
Well, we know that if you watch Law and Order,
Yeah, it's not that.
we don't have the enough information to make a judgment call. I don't believe so. But I'm against paying any fees at this point.
And again, my hope was just to lay a predicate this evening. You don't have to take any action tonight, Mayor.
Okay. 8.1.
I'm sorry, Mayor, is this a line item?
Yeah, it will be forwarded over as a line item for the next meeting. And I guess you'll explain to them that because there was a petition filed to the commission for the attorney's fees, that it has to be brought forward to basically be voted
Correct. We will.
upon.
Correct. We will have that conversation.
Okay. 8.1 housekeeping items, minutes. You guys have a copy. There were several sets of minutes that inadvertently were not approved. And so everyone has a copy of those. So those can go on to consent for next week if you don't have any questions regarding that. And in addition to that, the clerk submitted her resignation letter because her position is a position, one of her chartered positions, and she was a direct hire by the commission. So the commission has to also accept her resignation. So that's on the agenda.
I'll make a motion to accept. Yeah, no, but we should. You want us to vote
Can't do
for it?
anything today. There's no voting in the workshop.
Oh, okay. I just think we should accept her resignation and
And we can give
find a
direction
new
to
clerk
the.
as fast as possible.
Yeah.
By consensus,
Can we
the
give
manager-
direction on that to the mayor?
Yeah, by consensus, the manager will accept the resignation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, let's accept her recognition and then.
Yes, and we've already drafted an advertisement that's going out within the next 24, 48 hours for a new clerk. At your discretion, the applications will come to you for consideration for hire. We want to try to expedite that because we know we'll be kind of working under the gun here for a while until we get someone in place. And Susie will be, assisting as much as possible in this role until we put someone in place.
Okay. And it's my understanding,
Thank you.
Mr. Manager, that we also have restored the budget for that department so that we won't be
We
understaffed.
made some revisions, yes, sir. We have.
Thank you.
And some FTE revisions as well with current staff for that department. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. 9.1, attorney comments, town manager, offer update.
Yeah, and I actually am going to defer to your HR consultants with regards to this issue. I had a conversation with them earlier in the week, and there was no place on the agenda for an update, so I offered the town attorney report as a placeholder for your HR consultants to provide an update.
Okay.
Hello, Kristen from the Gearing Group. Nice to see you all. The update is after the direction from the last meeting, I did give an offer to Mr. Lynch We provided a conditional offer letter as well as a sample of a draft of a contract that is not firm, which he's aware of, and sent him consent forms for the background check as well as the drug screen, motor vehicle history, references, employment, all of that. So that is where we are at this moment. He returned those documents today.
If I may just add, the contract that was offered to Mr. Lynch, we worked on based upon the town's agreement with its former manager, Mr. Jimenez. The intent was not to, again, recreate the wheel. There's a document that the town has been comfortable with in the past. There are certain, provisions under Florida law that are included in there. We worked with your HR consultant to ensure that it aligned with the personnel manual. But that is the document that was presented. Again, it's a document the town has some history with.
And with that, there are a few items that would need to go before the commission in terms for the contract, including obviously the compensation, any personal days awarded or given to the town manager, as well as vacation, if you were to negotiate something higher than what's in the current policy.
I have a question, but that's more, if a person get hired here, do they get a choice of, say they already have insurance, would the town compensate them for paying their own insurance? And if they have a company car, would they have a choice of getting a supplement in their pay if they use their own car? Is there these kind of provisions a possibility?
Yeah, so with the car, it could be either a car allowance to go toward what they already have or a town car, is what I read in the current contract. As for the insurance, I did not see something to compensate if he had outside insurance, but it does offer 100% of his insurance with the town.
So in the past, we had some issues with that because a lot of people were getting the Obamacare, and there's an IRS bulletin that says that you cannot reimburse folks who are on Obamacare. So the town issued a policy that basically stopped the reimbursements for outside insurance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one more request, and I don't know if this is possible or not, so correct me if I'm wrong, but is it possible to review the compensation and vote on it as the commission for the next commission meeting, or is that preferred at an agenda meeting?
That should be possible.
I
don't know.
For action, that's an action.
Yeah, again, it couldn't happen tonight at a workshop, but if it was an agenda item, on the commission meeting, it's certainly in order.
If everything's in order by that time, I'm sure it can be an action item at that time based on, what you return back to the town attorney and commission with all your background checks.
Right, and the contract would be added to the agenda so you could review it beforehand. So if there was discussion on the compensation, we could certainly include that prior to and include that in the agenda for review by all of you.
That's what I was asking. If you were asking for numbers tonight, or that.
If that's possible, that would be wonderful, because then we can go ahead and put it in the contract and, make Mr. Lynch aware. But if it needed to be tabled or moved to another meeting, that's understandable as well.
You were looking at Juan's record to see where he was at, so you were kind of
right,
using that as a ballpark or whatever.
Right. So when the previous town manager left, he was making about 156. However, recommendation-wise, I would recommend going a little bit higher than that, as current staff is making closer to that number, and this is the town manager position. So I would look above like the 165 range, but obviously that is up to the commission as a whole.
Well, I agree.
I agree with that. I just, going into a new budget year, I would need an opportunity to get with the finance department to ensure that we can, be comfortable in whatever offer this is going to be. So it still would have to be an action item.
And also, I think you had a drafted contract with a different number, like 175.
Yeah, there was at one point in late 2023, I believe it was, Mr. Jimenez's contract had expired. I was working with him and with the commission at the time on an amendment to that contract. I don't believe the amended contract was ever presented to the commission. So I don't believe that salary increase was ever adjusted, but there was some discussion at the time about increasing the salary to around that amount.
Yeah, the 175 range.
Okay.
So here's my question. Are we, at the next meeting, making a vote of what the compensation would be and then waiting a whole nother month to approve the contract?
What about the background check?
The background check, we received the consent forms today, so I can go ahead and initiate that. That shouldn't take very long to conduct, and if everything checks out, I can send, to everyone at once that good to go, or whatever the case may be. The contract, though, can be added to the agenda for the next meeting, so that way you can review it before the vote, so you'd already see the terms and conditions included, if that's how you want to proceed.
And the background check is also going to include the social media aspect, because that was the direction given a couple of months ago, back in July.
I will defer that question to John Moeller.
Okay.
John Mueller with Garin Group, we're Strategies, HR consultant to the town. So our firm does not provide the background check services. That's done through a third party. So I do not believe that that is included in the services that the current vendor uses. I'd be more than happy to see if vendors will do that in the background screening world, but that does come with its risks as well as its rewards. So you do run the liability of potentially inadvertently discriminating against somebody or violating some of their rights looking at their social media.
Yeah, and social media is good until it's not.
Yep.
Agreed.
I'm just, Town Attorney, I'm a little confused how this is.
Well,
listen, we've been waiting since August of last year.
Yeah. So at your last commission meeting, there was direction to your staff, HR consultant, to make an offer to Mr. Lynch.
Right.
There were no terms connected with that offer.
Right.
What we did was, knowing an employment contract is needed for this position, we took the contract of your most recent permanent town manager, reframed that contract, brought it up to date a little bit, but left the business terms out of the agreement. I mean, again, at the last meeting, we didn't know, I didn't know whether Mr. Lynch was still interested, still available. There were a lot of questions coming out of that meeting. Since that time, I believe that, Kristen and her team have spoken to the applicant. Sounds like he is still interested. There is a draft contract that has been shared with him. But again, we don't have the authority or the direction from this commission with regards to compensation, vacation, personal days. I mean, those are things that the commission would need to ultimately decide. You had a couple options. Here we are on the end of September. Your next voting meeting is on the 8th. We could, assuming that your professional staff is able to complete the background screening and everything comes out clean, if there is time, we could place an item on the agenda for the 8th, which would be to approve a contract.
I think it's the 9th.
Or the 9th, whatever your next meeting is. Included within that contract on the agenda, we could leave some blanks, some open issues that will need to be resolved at that time on the dais. The commission can then make a decision, assuming that the applicant, if he is here, I would assume he'll be here, or certainly be available. I know he's coming from out of state. Again, as uncomfortable as public negotiations can be, that's really the price you pay in a lot of ways for operating in the sunshine, which is required by Florida law. We can present a contract. It can be 95% complete, but there are going to be a couple issues that I don't have the answer to, and your HR consultants or current interim manager have the answer to. So if all of that can be done between now and the 9th, with the commission's permission, we can put an item on that agenda. If, for whatever reason, the background screening does not come back in time, if there's insufficient time to complete whatever other review your HR consultants need to do to finalize this process, then presumably it will be pushed back a month to your November meeting.
I got another question. Can we give the HR consultants direction to finalize the contract and put those appropriate numbers in there?
As long as there is consensus, I think the answer is yes.
I believe that's a good idea.
Yeah, if there is consensus, the answer is yes. I mean, again, the commission can't take any action tonight in the context of a workshop.
Or it gets
but if
We can give direction to do it, so.
You can give, if the commission is in agreement, if there is consensus, there's no vote taken, but you're providing some general direction to your staff, your consultants, I don't have an issue with that.
Okay. I would like to see the background check done first, the full background check, and report back, because I know last time, I think with the other person, it took like an enormous amount of time. It was like a month of getting those employee signatures, getting in touch with the previous employees when they ran the background check. So I think it would, we were putting the cart before the horse without having the background check done.
I believe that Renee Narlock very probably have done background checks. Maybe
She
you could contact her.
She did not, and that was one of the reasons why the contract was canceled or closed out, was because of the fact that the job description that the job description that the town adopted through the HR company back in the past had a lot of things in it, including a 10-year background history, things like that. And that's one of the conversations that we had before when I asked HR was, do these resumes meet the actual job description of the town that was adopted for the background requirements, which was 10 years city management history, things like that. And the applicants did not, which was why one of the things that me and the city attorney had discussed was that I was wanting to go after Ms. Norlock for a breach of contract because of the fact that the resumes that were selected did not meet the job requirements. And there were things that were not done. The things that were presented were not done. And that's why in June or July, this commission said that we were going to have our current HR company review the resumes that were received, rank them, do background checks, and then present it back to us. And that's why I was really confused, because I wasn't at the last meeting when this came up. And I sent HR an email basically asking, and I'll read the email into the record. I am unsure who to address these questions to, so I've included all parties I think are relevant to helping me understand what happened at the last meeting. It was my understanding when Renee Norlock's contract was closed out that all resumes were to be forwarded to Gehring. That's what was discussed on the record, and that Gehring would review the resumes and rank them based on the town's adopted job descriptions and requirements for those positions. Last week it was brought to my attention that the resumes were never officially forwarded to Kristen. It was also stated on the record that Gehring would also conduct a social media background check on all candidates when doing resume reviews and rankings. Has this been completed and presented? Because I have not received a copy of anything, and nothing was attached as backup, nor was there a cover sheet associated with the item. So I'm trying to understand what happened, because I don't know what happened and where the balls got dropped. I mean, I don't understand how the resumes were never forwarded over, and the fact that if you look at the applicants that were presented versus the job description that Renee Norlock put out versus the job description that the town has, those don't even match to the resumes that were received and ranked. So Renee Norlock put out a 5-year city manager background. The city has a 10-year management background and ICMA eligible. Well, the candidates that you have are not ICMA eligible because they don't meet the number of years of service as a actual city manager to be ICMA eligible. So I'm not sure what happened in the process and where things are, but that did not occur. So that's why I'm like, we need a background check before we start sitting here sending out firm contracts, because we're going to end up with egg on our face like the last time.
Any suggestion, Attorney?
Well, I can offer this, and I'll say just a couple things, Mayor and Commission. Our office really hasn't been involved in this process, so I'm a little bit at a disadvantage, only because we haven't seen many of the questions, although Ms. Narlock did copy us on a few of them. And again, I'll go back to what I've said several times in the past. The 5 of you really control this process. You get to control the timing, you get to control what direction the town is ultimately going in. Your last commission meeting, as you're aware, the commission provided direction to your staff to make an offer to one of the applicants submitted by Ms. Norlock. You got a couple options. You were in a process. You can move forward with the process that was started. The offer that was made to the applicant was conditional, as Kristen indicated. It's subject to a background screening. It's also subject to this commission approving a contract. You voted to make an offer to an applicant. You are not compelled to approve a contract or the terms and conditions set out in that contract. So you have some decisions to make still, and you have some time to think about those decisions. This is the decisions that you will make is one that should not be taken lightly. I mean, who you select as the chief executive officer of the town is among the most important decisions that the commission is going to make. And it's more important that you are deliberative and comfortable with your decision than taking some action in haste. So if the commission wanted to clarify the direction given to your HR consultants, if your commission wanted to provide some direction to my office, whatever we can do to help you, we're certainly happy to try, but we all serve at the pleasure of the commission.
I believe we should continue with the building contract and offering, and I disagree with the mayor that these 3 candidates that we were sent were not qualified. They were all town managers in their past and have other qualifications that we sorely need in this town. And we are a very small town. We need to attract the best that we can get, but we're not going to get the cream of the cream in the situation we're in because we can't afford that, and we probably never will. So let's get the best out of the candidates we had to choose from, and since one of them withdrew from it, there was only 2 candidates left from Renee Narlock's.
You had 25 candidates
And
from Renee
that's-
Narlock.
Yeah, that were interesting.
And you had 4 that were, no, you had 7, I can't remember. There were 7 that were actually ICMA certified, that were not ranked.
So the information I received has 3 top candidates listed, 3 of those, the 3 candidates' resumes. There's a listing of the other candidates, 1 through 30. The only 3 that were identified as top candidates were the 3 you're aware of. I understand 1 withdrew, but that's the information that I received from Renee Norlock's office.
Well, I don't see any harm in moving it forwards. We're not accepting the contract. We're putting it out there for him to purview, and while we're waiting for the background check. So let's not.
It's all conditional.
Let's
so
not
we got-
hold things up just because.
Let's get moving. We
It's a
agreed to
simple
do that
process.
in January.
Mail him a
so-
contract. Again, it's been over a year, and I don't often agree with these 2, but I believe it's time to move forward because we're already into 13 months on this item.
All right.
Can I add one more thing? So with that contract, if there was discussion and then something to vote on, we wouldn't necessarily be delivering the amended contract with the compensation and the terms, but it would help us prepare it so when you do review it at the next meeting, it has everything that you need to approve it. More than likely, the background would be completed. The background typically takes a week or so, since I started with the candidates I've hired thus far. So that way it could be prepared for you for the next meeting, but certainly.
Why don't they put the compensation in it? Why isn't? What would be the purpose of not putting it in there? I mean, if somebody asked me, "Hey, you want to do this job for me?" I said, "Well, okay, how much?"
Well, so actually I did offer the job. He was fine with taking it, knowing what the previous town manager was making and understanding that would probably be around there. I let him know there was no guarantee to that, but he did his own homework on that. So
All right,
he
so
did
you're
accept
saying
it knowing that it would be at least that amount.
He'll have a ballpark. So.
Yes, correct.
Good news.
Thank you.
Kristen, while you guys are still up there, I've been having the conversation with the city attorney regarding the handbook. And one of the things that I would like to move forward is the provision on the bridging time and expediting that, since I know I've sent numerous emails regarding different items that need to be updated in the handbook. But I would like to get that possibly for the next meeting.
I didn't hear what you said.
I didn't either.
Updating the employee handbook. I've sent numerous things that need to be updated on the employee handbook, and one of the things that I wanted to do was the bridging of time. And I sent you a text message, and I sent the attorney a copy of that, which was bridging for seniority and benefits, bridging for PTO time, bridging hiring dates. So those are one of the things that we need to go ahead and get in the handbook ASAP. So I would like to move that forward if you guys could have something ready.
Yeah, we can definitely do that and make the amendment immediately. When we do a full review of the employee handbook, that would remain, and we'd update other policies as well. But with that one amendment to it, we could go ahead and make that available online through ADP. So that change would be reflected for the public record and such. The text message, though, that you sent, could you email me that?
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I don't receive text messages.
Uh-oh. I've been texting you a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh, yeah, you might want to email those to me, but thank you.
Okay. Okay, perfect. All right, thank you. Also, when are we gonna have our workplace harassment trainings, sexual harassment, hostile work environments, those kind of trainings? When will we have those available?
Good question. So we have an online system that can go ahead and address harassment with among a bunch of other topics. All employees will be enrolled with their city or their town email. We can set a time frame they need to complete it. All new hires would do it immediately as their new hire package. However, we did make a recommendation of having an annual or anti-harassment training through the legal office or the law office, the attorney's office, just because it is a legal issue, and we got rates that would be needed to be reviewed in order to do that. So you would have a in-person training annually for all employees, and then the online training for every employee upon hire. But obviously, we'd go back and get anyone who was already hired.
Can you make that mandatory training?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, and just for the record, one of my colleagues, who's one of our labor lawyers, routinely provides, workplace employment harassment training. And again, we've indicated to Kristen and her team if we can assist with that, we're certainly happy to try.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then also, will you be sending out the other training classes information so that we can start getting folks like trained in office and things like that?
Definitely.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other comments under attorney comments?
No, thank you, Mayor. I have nothing.
Are there any comments under manager comments?
Mayor, Commission, good evening. Limit my comments. I'll be bringing a full report to the regular commission meeting in October. However, we've been very busy here in the town over the last several months. We brought on some new staff. We have 3 new staff coming into the building department, so we're excited about that. It should be starting in about 2 weeks, so that staff will be built out, except the building official is remaining that we need to fill. We do have a new director of finance here with us tonight. We also have a new deputy public service director as well here tonight. Mr. Osmani Larzabal is here. Stand up, please. As our new deputy public service director, comes very highly recommended from Keefe and Associates. And also Mr. James Daverman is your new finance director. I can attest for these 2 guys. They're well qualified, especially Mr. Daverman. There is David really took to him, and they really speak the same language. You got 2 quality directors here in your midst. So we're priding ourselves in building a good team for this town, and we didn't take. We went through these applicants very thoroughly. We did multiple interviews, so we're excited for these 2 gentlemen to be joining your team, the team here in Pembroke Park. I'm excited to have them on the team and see what they can really provide for us in performance for you and for this town and community. So we're excited about that. We'll be bringing back some RFPs that we're putting back out on the street. We have our janitorial RFP on the street right now. I think the questions closed for that yesterday or today. We have our debris removal RFP out on the street as well. We're looking at a couple of other RFPs that we have to put out. One is resurfacing, repaving the town hall parking lot. Another one is we're going to start focusing on the 3rd floor. We have contractors giving us recommendations on what needs to be done at the 3rd floor. We're kind of built out on the first 2 floors, and we have to tackle on the 3rd floor now. If you haven't noticed, we've cleaned out the majority of the 3rd floor of all the remaining items in preparation of some demolition services that will occur up there. But again, we have to get the cost in the right position before we go out for RFP. But we're excited to see the 3rd floor come online with additional office space for staff as well. Outside of that, I want to go back to the tropical storm, Hurricane Helene, that's in our midst. Schools have closed here in Broward County. While we were sitting in this meeting, most cities are allowing staff that have childcare challenges to work remote tomorrow. We will follow suit as well. So staff here that has childcare challenges will be allowed to work from home tomorrow because schools will be closed. And because they closed them late this evening, we need to make that decision. So I'll be reaching out to all the directors this evening to ensure that we address that. So those staff that have childcare issues will have the opportunity to work remote tomorrow. Thank you.
I have a question for you. Did we have time enough to lower the levels in the lakes?
We started that Tuesday.
We anticipate.
Yes, sir. We started that Tuesday.
Oh, that's good. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Okay. Commissioner comments, Commissioner Jacobs?
None.
Commissioner, Acting Clerk, Commissioner Kishim?
No.
Clerk, Commissioner Hodgkins?
None.
Vice Mayor Morissette?
Yeah, just a short one. I want to thank our clerk, Marlon Martel, for her services. She has decided to leave us, and she's done a great job cleaning up our filing systems and other things that we were criticized by the OIG for not having in good order. She put the house in good order. I want to thank her for that.
I'll definitely go along with that.
That's it.
Okay.
That's all.
Just going to make the announcement that Broward and Palm Beach schools are closed tomorrow. Dade County schools are still open. With that, stay safe, stay dry. The announcements, regular commission meeting, October 9th, special magistrate hearing, October 16th, workshop commission meeting, October 23rd, and we'll be having our holiday party. What day, Susie? October 26th or? Our holiday party? I mean, our
Fall festival.
Fall festival.
19th.
No, the 19th is, we switched them because the 19th was the citizenship drive.
We wanted to do a combination of both.
No food
but
drive?
We can talk about that. It is scheduled for the 18th, but we thought 19th would be better suited. So I've had to have that discussion offline with you about the date. Okay?
Okay.
All right. And we have Health Fair coming up November 2nd as well. Yep.
Okay. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Meeting adjourned at 8:21.
8 o'clock, that's good.
You owe me.
We did.